by like using swim quads before. That was a massive tip from you, Tim, that really moved the needle to like the activation right, not having to use 1K of swimming to find that again. So you can shorten that with swim quads before. Let's hit it. So new series here that we started. Hi guys, how are you doing? Today here we are with Tim Brazier, my coach, and this is about Geek Week. The idea about what it is that we get a better understanding of how my training looks like, how is the transition from age group to pro, what things am I doing to chase my goals, because I did set massive goals. So the mechanic behind this, the genius behind this is Tim. So he's the one that orchestrates all that. So let's get right into it. So I think to start off, I think it might be a good idea to start off, where did our coaching start? I mean, there was April this year. So maybe you can get a bit of a start on where was I at that time and my body and mind, and then I can tell a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think we started in April when you came with big goals then, probably not as big as they are now. Like we've leveled up again, which is pretty exciting. Also, it's a good challenge for me and put some pressure on me too to meet the demands, right, of some big aspirations, which is really cool though and quite exciting. And I think when you came to me, you're really searching to try find how you would achieve the best that you can achieve within yourself within the balance of your life. And how we could integrate training the best as well. And that was, you had a lot of work and a lot of pressure, and how could we really maximize those hours every week that you had to dedicate to your training and the goals you wanted to achieve. And for me, that was the number one challenge is, right, how do we set that up to be able to deliver that for you? And then so that we had a consistent platform. And consistency is a big theme that we talk about a lot, how we achieve that, how we create the layers of that, and how we be patient with that and let it grow without undue risk. And then secondly, on top of that was, okay, where are you physiologically at? What have you been able to achieve? What is the past history? And then how we adapted training to fit that. My take when we came on board and looking at things was quite a lot of low, slow intensity, not a lot of high power work, felt quite flat at times, felt a bit overtrained, but also we're lacking a bit of enjoyment from what you did, because everything was a bit of a grind.
Yeah, I can confirm that. So just really brief history for everybody out there. I've been doing triathlon for some years, but like committed myself more to it 2012, let's say. And then first Ironman was 2012, went quite well, as I said. And then first Kona qualification was 2016. Everything was great, everything was good, was on par. Then I did some changes there. I played around with diet, that was a big one. I played around with diet and did it in a complete wrong way. Underate basically, under calories and everything, and that anyways led to a couple of things. I got heavy metal poisoning. Took me 1.5 years to figure out what it was. I had all kinds of nerve issues and whatnot, and after that I went back in it, and so it took me 1.5 years to recover from that with all kinds of medication and whatnot, and that was good. But then still, I think one massive point that I still didn't do right, I still didn't eat enough and I still didn't recover well. So those, no matter what training program somebody would have put on me at that time, it wouldn't have worked, because I was never resting, always going. Like I said, also the business front was flourishing. I was really passionate about that as well, and didn't know, because it's not like work times, right? It's not like you start at 8 and finish at 4. There is no work times. It's no times anymore where you go to work, and your brain doesn't stop. Mine doesn't stop. It was like endless. So anyways, long story short, after we started, I really felt like, I got the enjoyment back, and really the consistency. And everybody knows about consistency. I'll make another series about that. Athlete Mind series, talk about consistency more. because I mean everybody knows it's the biggest part in endurance sports, but like I think through you I really learned a whole nother level of what consistency means, the approach to it, and the minimum dose, or what do you call it?
Effective minimum dose.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And what does it mean? Just explain a little bit just what that means actually.
Yeah, I think everybody often looks at, well, what's the most amount that I can fit in, right? Other than what's the most amount that I can do, which is going to help me improve and see consistent improvement. So what's my minimum effective dose to do that? Then you apply that and you grow and develop. And then, your minimum effective dose is obviously going to change. It's going to adapt as you grow and adapt as an athlete. But you need to just apply that rule, and therefore you'll get the better consistency too without, I've got 24 hours, so I'm going to absolutely load my 24 hours and just keep applying that maximum dose. And then more than likely, we always see some sort of explosion, whether it's from a metabolic side because you can't actually fuel enough to cope with life, whether it's a mental side because you can't cope with all the pressures, or whether it's a musculoskeletal side where your body actually can't cope, because very often your cardiovascular system can adapt really quickly to the stress, but your muscular and skeletal system can't. And then you have, Achilles tendinopathies, calf tears, constant hip niggles. And then as you've pointed out in your previous videos, that can flow up the chain too into back and hit more from the lower leg.
Yeah. So I was always lucky with that, on that front, with injuries. I didn't have any of that basically, although I was so overtrained. With me, it was always the system, the hormone system, everything tipped, and nervous system, really this kind of burnout style that complete mental depletion basically. So what I learned from that basically is one good tip, really somebody said once, is if you have 3-4 days where you're in a row where you it's not low motivation, but really you don't feel like you're dreading training, you're rather do anything than go for an easy 30-minute jog. That's a sign. If I had that one day, okay, it's an off day, 2-3, but it's the third or fourth day, then I realize, hey, I'm pushing the boundaries. Because first, because my body doesn't break down, I'm lucky with that. That's, I think, one reason why I'm good for long distance. It doesn't break down that easily. But the other part is it does break down, and then I'm really in such a hole when it's too late, and then 2 weeks out. And that's always what I had. Yep. 3, 4, 5 months, really good, and then boom, again. So no consistency in that sense. And so anyways, that's enough about the past. Let's go into the last month. So now it's early November, so we're gonna always review the month before, right? So we're gonna start first week of October. Here's October, 1st October, where we're actually at Challenge Salou. Here was the race. It was a bit of a race week thing. Maybe that's not so. I think there in the video talked about it. It's not so much exciting stuff. But then the week afterwards, that's the week where I was in Girona as well. So there's a bit of twisted ankle and whatnot in there. So right after the day I had off, well, let's do the whole week first. So the whole week afterwards, after the race, I had planned 21 hours and 50. I did 19, I'll come to that. And swim, I did 4 hours 50, as you see. Bike duration, 14 hours. Run duration, I did actually 2 hours, just under 2 hours. Strength, I did it close to 2 hours. And you see the data on the side. Quite a bit of riding. Running not so much, but that was the week actually where I twisted my ankle here on the Friday night. I even wrote it in. That's always good to look back. I always use Training Peaks for making notes, right? I even put the massage in there, so I also as a reminder for me, but not just a calendar. I have a separate calendar for systems like that. But just to look back, hey, okay, they had a massage, that's good. Or chiropractic, I also put in there, just that you also know, okay, he did that then, and maybe that correlates to something else then.
Yeah, so I think the key, obviously we have objectives all the time for what we're trying to achieve in our training on a monthly basis, and that's obviously feeding through to what we're trying to achieve later on. And I think this week was a little bit different, and people get caught up in all the hours and numbers as well, and they are an important element of it. But we had a bit of a goal here where you were trying to get a handle on Girona and what it was about, and exploring it too. So riding was a big part of that, exploring what is this really like. Everyone talks about the riding. Is it as good as we think it is? And getting out there and getting that riding in. and seeing what it's like. So when you come back next time and we're doing specific blocks, then you can actually maximize that time there. Because it's pretty hard to go to a new place and fall straight into routine on a big training block camp, and get the right terrain to dictate the training. So I think that was an important part of this week, and as people will see through the flow, look, we've got a real consistent theme here too, and part of this links to your background, Matti, and physio as well, but the strength and conditioning and the mobility side is really important. And mobility and range being significantly important, I think, after races as well, when your body's going to seize up and be pretty tired. And we're really lucky that we've got that partnership where we can bounce ideas off each other with that. I think that's a really important part, and a really strong word too, for any coaching relationship is partnership. This is us working together to deliver the best outcome. And people will see through here too, the swimming is a really we go for quite a lot of frequency in swimming, and there will be 4-5 swims a week, and there'll be stages where we do 6 swims a week.
Great. I mean, I have the 5 and I really noticed the difference. I mean, Michael Phelps talked about it. I think if he lacked 1 day of swimming, it took him 2 days to get back. So I mean, but I realized if I'm like 1 or 2 days not in, I do notice I reduced the time it takes me to get back by like using a swim course before. That was a massive tip from you, Tim, that really moved the needle to like get the activation right, not having to use 1K of swimming to find that again. So you can shorten that with swim course before. That helped a lot. And 5 times swimming, I would say, is an average, basically 4 to 5 times. And I feel great with 5 times. It's really, it becomes meditation at some point. In the beginning, it's really, I remember when I started, you start with 2K and it's like, oh, how far is that? It's interesting how quickly the mind adapts, like 3K. If your mind gets used to 4K, it's just a flow. A lot of people probably think, that's a lot of hours for like a week right after a race. It's a half distance race, was an all out effort or like really hard effort. And it changes over time, right? Like when I was a beginner, Tim would never give me that amount of hours afterwards.
No way.
And so I really realized like through fitness as well that I recover quicker. But you got to respect it. If you have a look here, the Monday is completely off. The Tuesday is completely easy. There it's yellow because I rode a bit longer, but super easy to discover. I found a nice loop. Here the Wednesday is still easy. It's just a swim drill. Steady. I mean, most of it is really easy. The one session I want to highlight of that week is maybe the swim here. 6 times 800 on the Saturday. I remember that was a really great set. I always use in Training Peaks as well. I think that helps you, like to perceive the exhaustion. You can really say, hey, how hard was that for him? And you got to be honest as well. How did you feel? Now I felt strong. It's always great. Sometimes you feel below average. Weak is really then it's almost something wrong when I say weak. So, but here can be just like can also mean like I didn't feel right, but mainly it's not good. And there I really felt like it was an amazing session. So here 6 times 800, and as you can see, it's really always broken up a lot between strokes, but not too many, not any breaststroke. I think Brett Sutton said that breaststroke is an injury. Start of all running, the start of all running injuries or something, because it's explosive rotation. That's I think death as a physio.
Triathletes are so linear too, right? And what we do, forwards and backwards, like. Start getting all this lateral stuff in with breaststroke, we're in real trouble.
We can't coordinate that. But anyways, here, as you see, first rep is always alternating 150 meters freestyle, 50 back. Then a lot of kicking. Kicking is always something, and you probably struggle as well with. And I did for a long time. What moved the needle for me was actually, because I always lacked oxygen so much that just putting the snorkel on actually allowed me to focus on the technique. Before I was just focusing on getting air. I couldn't even focus on the kicking. And now I got this really nice awareness of where my hips are and the kick, and I can really feel like you're moving well. It's not like so that changed my swimming for sure as well. You have a lot of in swimming. You have a lot of descending and ascending sets, right? So like that means from easy to hard or hard to easy.
Easy.
And that's really making you strong. If you have an 800 meter set, for example, and you start off first a bit slow and then go to fast, that's one thing, but the next rep starts then super fast, the last one, and then you go slower from there. So that's challenging, but it's really making you strong, and I like that stuff. Here's a bit of red in there. I think there, because my body never really calmed down, I was always on the go as well. I think under 8, it's always something, when I'm in a new location, I couldn't stick to my regular diet. It's actually easier in the rhythm at home. And there I just felt my body was was catching a little bit of a cold, kind of, so immune system. And I think that had to do mainly with me not really recovering well, because the training sessions weren't overly done, it was mostly easy. But yeah, anyways, and then I just noticed, something's off, and then just skipped the next day, wanted to do a long ride, but then slept a lot, recovered, and nothing you can do there. But because I called it early and not just continued, it was just one day, and on the Monday I felt good again. So if you stop on time, unless it's a real virus, right, then you're out. But felt good. Then next week, second week of October, here Monday it says flight back. We are back from Girona, first week back here. So what do we have here? One of our favorite key runs, we can talk about that one. That's a high zone 2 run. We can go into that one here. So yeah, what's the goal for high zone 2 for Ironman athletes?
Well, really, this is something that I think you brought to the table that you found worked really well, but also is something that as a general rule for Ironman athletes is a really important part of it. I mean, high zone 2 is where you'll probably operate for most of the day as an Ironman athlete. And so learning to cope biomechanically and physiologically at that stress is a really important part of it. Yeah, and we're just trying to build those things in. So there's a theme within our training where some of the consistent elements of Ironman performance are constantly built in. So there's some high zone 2 running, and you'll see in the weekends there's a high 5-hour rides that becoming a real consistent thing. So we're trying to normalize some of those elements.
Yeah, high zone 2, so that changed a bit as well for me with time, but now I was around, we can have a quick look here. I always choose a flat one for that. Flat loop, 40 minutes. There did 4:06 pace, average. So there I really go. It's a bit of a mix with perceived exhaustion, the paces, and your heart rate was always something that wasn't quite right. I mean, I have asthma, and when it's cold, like pollen, it's completely nuts. I finally found a pulmonologist to treat it now, and I have to spray and crap. I have to take that, unfortunately, but it's the only thing that helps. But there I'm a bit always in between, like when should people look for heart rate in training, let's say running or even biking, when should they look for pace? It's a real confusion, right? There's so many data out there. What do you think?
Well, yeah, we try and use it's really important, we try to use a combination of both. Heart rate, I think, is a really important one for running because it's where you feel the most muscular fatigue often. So understanding your heart rate and your response to that pace is really key. So remember, heart rate is the work done really of the body. So the response to the work done of the body, where the pace is, or the power is the work done. So being able to, as an athlete, because the coach isn't always there, and you're never going to be there all the time, to be able to look at power and pace and think, okay, well, this is where my power and pace normally is. Where's my heart rate sitting? And is that normal for what I should be doing? Is my heart rate able to come up? Is it staying really low? How am I responding to the stress that I'm putting on my body? And then being able to dictate what that session then might look like or change to. And that's a responsibility of the athlete generally to do that. And so we use a combination of both. And I think heart rates, everyone talks about it being this old school metric, but it's such an important metric because it's how your body is responding to what we are doing. Yeah, I really like that as well, to just have an objective one, another data to look up on, and it really works. It really helps me as well to have a look at the heart rate. So here we got a proper week here. So it's actually 18 hours 50. Not crazy high, but like we got a good bit of quality in there. We started doing the track sessions. That's something we did now always on a Saturday, the quality running. And let's have a quick look here. So we do a 20-minute warm-up, 4 times 100-meter strides, and then the 200s at 31 seconds, 32, 200 jog, and then the 400s. 400 were even at 90% because you want to keep quality and all that, but like that's a rough one. And and they always get the feedback. So why are we doing speed work at the moment? What's the goal? Yeah, I think what an important part for us to recognize was that to run a 250 or sub 250 marathon, or if we're going to run a pro race, a 240 or 235 marathon, as they're now cracking out. 235. 235, hands down, right?
First race.
To be able to do that, we've got to be running a lot faster. That's why I have him as a coach, by the way, because he's a dreamer as well. He doesn't accept limits. It's all made up in the mind. Yeah, it is. It's just a little bit. And a touch of just a drip. Yeah. But from a point of view of running a sub 250 as a starting point, we've got to be running a sub 75 half. Ideally, we've got to be running 5K faster than 17:30. We've got to be running 10K faster than probably 36 or 37. So there's these other little milestones where your speed element or speed from an Ironman term is really important to be able to deliver that. You're not going to be a 40 or 42 minute 10K runner and then think you're going to deliver a sub 250 marathon. So there's elements in training that we've got to change. So we do 8x400 and yes, it actually can help develop aerobic capacity because, the effort that we're putting down, which is around 5K effort in the end, accumulates with a little bit of jog, rest, but your muscles are working at their maximal output through that on a regular basis. It's helping to generate anaerobic capacity, but also we're helping to generate run economy, velocity at VO2 max, working on your biomechanical form. So there's lots of different elements that are developed into there, but also they're helping on the anaerobic metabolism, which is going to help us learn to deliver that faster pace as well. And that, as people will see through some of this winter, you've got some cool running races lined up, which we're going to use to help us monitor and track how we're going and developing that side of things, and also helping you to learn how to pace them as well, and become more effective at delivering a running race, which is what you have to do at the end.
Yeah, something I learned from you there was, for example, on the track workout, you said when the speed is completely gone, the feeling when you're trucking, you feel like you're just empty. I didn't have that now. I just felt like I was getting tough the last 100, 200, and it's kind of the idea. It's it's supposed to be tough. But if I would have felt like in the last, maybe not the last I would have pushed, but if I would have very early on noticed like, hey, the speed is gone, I'm not moving, I'm like at 4:30 pace or something, like really blowing up completely when you're supposed to go 3-minute pace or something. Then you said even to stop, right? Because the biomechanical impact is gone, and why should people stop then?
Well, I think people often, they'll just bury themselves to complete the session, right? And you're actually getting no gain out of it from carrying on and actually not delivering the pace, which is going to effectively develop VO2 max or develop your running economy, because you're not putting the power down per stride that's going to help push that forward. So, again, your minimum effective dose is complete. You've put down the best that you can put down to deliver the stress that we were after. And now it's just time to step back, and having the mindset to be able to do that is really, I think, part of the toughest elements. So park the ego.
Yeah, the ego, exactly. Yeah. So what you said there, that's genius, because if becoming a world champion or something would be up to having a green training peaks, I think everybody would become world champion, right? I think the real good ones, and I saw that with a few out there that shared it sometimes, I think people don't talk about enough. The good ones, they just make the call without ego involved. Hey, body is not there, I change it. Like quite a lot, I think, like the real ones, they change it very frequently. They don't just So, and that's something I got better at. At the moment I can really execute really well, but if I feel something's off, in the past I would have continued, and then you're really broken in whatever sense. So it might be just one day you have to change whatever's going on. Maybe you got a small cold from someone or whatever, it's autumn time. Just be smart. And anyways, next week, here we're going a bit into the volume at 23 hours 44. We're going a bit up, a bit more swimming as well, 6 hours 40. Biking, almost 11 hours. Running, 5 hours. Strength, 1 hour 15. That's around, it's not 2,000 meters swimming. It's always per session 4 to 4.5K swimming. And what do we got here? That's interesting. So we're running a lot of hills at the moment, right? Here you can see elevation gain 3,130 meters, but it's 53K of running. So if I would run it all flat, it would be more. Are you looking at running mileage for athletes, or what is an important one you think people should look at?
Yeah, people have these theories right around, I've got to get a 100K run week or 80K, and they stick this magical number out there which they think they've got to achieve, and in the end I think it just can set you up for failure, or you're trying to achieve something that's not really achievable for you. So especially in a phase like we're in now, where we're doing some hillier running as well to try to develop that strength endurance, and especially some of the muscular strength. It's not an important factor to me, and actually half the time it's not important at all. I set the training plan up based on what you can achieve as an athlete, what's going to help you grow and develop, and then the run volume is just really an outcome of that. And I'll track it because I won't want us to see us growing at massive leaps and bounds. But it isn't how I set the week up. It is an important part of it. The time on the feet is the important part of it. And what we do with that time on the feet is the next equally important part of it.
Yeah. And it would be still a different impact if I would have run them all flat. I would have had like a 70, 80K, or I don't know. And that's again a different impact on structures than saying, hey, run in the hills and you're a bit slower uphill is less impact. I think all those things accumulate as well. Like, I know.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I go for, and it comes what you're attuned to. So I run a lot of hills here, and then if I go do a 2-hour flat run, the first couple absolutely wipe me. Because
I noticed. Neuromuscularly, just keeping the cadence up and like. Yeah, I noticed that. I did one in Helsinki there, 2 hours, and it was just felt completely different.
Yeah. And that's something that people have got to be attuned to as well, like how they're changing their environment and their stimulus and the impact that has, not just on that one session, but on the rest of the week.
Once we're getting closer to a race, of course, we will focus on flatter running as well, because I mean, that's in the end, most Ironman races, or almost all of them are on flatter terrain. So I need to be able that neuromuscular cadence and strength to be able to do that efficiently, right? So so that's this week. I think we're having here again a few swims in there. You can see most of it. You've probably seen it by now. Next week, that is last week of October. Here we're hitting 24 hours and 25 minutes. So quite bigger week. I think the 2 weeks here, both 24 hours, were one of my biggest. I mean, training camp maybe, but that was different. And I knew the first thinking was we up the volume and have quality in it, because it's not like we are spinning around. We have like quality in it. My mindset and my responsibility as an athlete was right away, because I have to be the recovery master, right? It's an online relationship. Unless you're Brad Sutton, who looks at people every day in the eyes, I think maybe then you can have a bit less responsibility, but even then I think it's not smart. So as an online coaching, what most people have, I think it's an athlete's call most of the time, unless the coach sees something in the program that's like a red flag. But mostly it's the athlete that feels it first, right? If you feel some niggle, if you feel like getting sick or something like that. And here I felt great, I felt really good, but I knew, like I said, lowest hanging fruits. I knew, hey, you're training more, you have quality. You got to be the Olympic champion of your sleep with naps. You got an Olympic champion of diet. You got to up your diet if you feel more hungry.
Yep.
If you ate all the quality, because of 5,000-6,000 calories a day, that's in the end, you can't just eat vegetables. Of course, that's a big part, but maybe you need to supplement with some calorie foods. For me, that's like yogurts, or like something, even dates, or like cereals, like something that just, it doesn't have a lot, but it has calories. So. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a bit my thinking. No,
it's spot on. And I think an important part actually look at for these weeks and these bigger weeks is actually, if you're looking across at the training stress balance and the chronic training load as the algorithms that Training Peaks put out across the 2 weeks, you won't see the moment huge jumps. Yeah, just across there. So people won't see huge jumps across at the moment. We're being really careful.
600, 400,
yeah. And, we're not getting big -20s, -30s. No, we're stepping through. We're still delivering some pretty hard, and Matti will test that, sessions. But we're stepping forward in that real consistent manner. And if I had thrown this week at you back in April, May, when we started together, you would have crumbled, especially with the layers of intensity. And I mean, we've got a 400 or 200 timed in there. We've got a massive quality run as well on the Saturday. We've got a 5-hour ride. Remember, a 5-hour ride and a 2-hour run are nearly quality sessions too. Yeah. And then people are seeing this week too, and through these last few weeks, like a lot of longer reps in the pool, which is quite purposeful at the moment, along with some shorter, faster stuff, and just allowing you to try and find rhythm and strength endurance, and building that platform that we can operate off next year.
Yeah. And the only reason I'm able to do this is, one, you build it up really patiently, week by week, not pushing it. And the other one was because I did my part, which is not just doing the training. That's the easy part for an athlete, right? just hitting it and doing it and smashing it no matter how you feel. That's the easy one. But being smart and like especially like being aware of the basics, right? The sleep, the nutrition, eating enough, and the hydration as well, that you drink enough. Because if you're on a turbo, or when I'm here 2-3 hours on a turbo, you're gonna sweat a lot, so you maybe need some electrolytes as well. So all those things, they can tip you out of balance, I noticed. So yeah, so that's the last week here. We got the first one done. There we are in this week. We can talk about next time what happened here in that day. Anyway, so that's it for this week. I think just a little summary, like, hey, let's look back at the month. What did August do towards the goal, right? I mean, the big first goal was Ironman Frankfurt. I hit some massive targets there for myself, which are on the... I know it's doable, otherwise I wouldn't do them, but I know I have to really work hard. That's why I set them. If it would be easy goal, if I said 56 minute swim, 270 watts, and a 3:15 run or 3:05, like I'll be bored. Like I know I can do it. I mean, even if it, I just wouldn't challenge me. So I need big goals, and of course. I mean, also Tim has the same. If it's really completely out of the ordinary, like completely away, this guy is completely flying to the stars, then he will also tell me, I guess. But or not.
Yeah, well, no, I'd tell you. But I think the thing the question we can ask, and we sort of don't know the answer to, is, well, what can Matti do with more of a focus just on training, with all this external stuff removed, or slowly being removed? Then what can you actually achieve? And in some of those dream goals, you really can, because I think everyone underestimates the effect of the mental stress of work and everything on their training, on their recovery, on their eating, their nutrition. So, I'm pretty excited actually to see what we can achieve, and then be looking how to look at the difference, right? And
me too.
And what performance we get from it.
Latest March it starts. Before we'll already get a bit less. Will work for sure. Or you notice it's changing a bit. There's some, but I'm still helping out with the work, the transition. But anyways, that's it for this month. Very important for you guys. If you have any questions, like a Q&A kind of thing, any questions you have for Tim or me, just put them down in the comments below, and we'll answer 2-3, the biggest ones, or how much time we got. We'll answer the next episode. We're going to be launching one of those episodes once a month, the Geek Week, for everybody out there who's really into data and stuff. So just shoot away if you have any questions. And thanks so much, Tim. Stay in line, and see you next time.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Catch you, Matti. Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can really help me out if you like and subscribe, push your notification bell, comment below what you want to see next, and I see you in the next video.